Well, aren't you gonna...
It's not my son.
What? What are you saying?
It's not my son.
Oh, I'm sure you're mistaken.
I'm not mistaken.
Well, he's been through 5 terrible long months. He's lost weight. He's changed.
I would know my own son.
All I'm saying is you're in shock and he's changed.
What's your name? Can you tell me your name?
Walter Collins.
Long distance to never alone.
We're on the topic of solo leveling.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear all of your thoughts. So you're listening to the audiobook as well. So how far are you?
I didn't get very far. I started listening to them a couple years ago. At least I think it was a couple years ago. It was before the anime was announced. That's all I remember. My concept of time is off. But I was interested in the manhwa, right? That's how you say it?
Yeah. Unless I'm
But
saying it wrong too, but that's how I say it.
that's how I say it too. Yeah, if I'm wrong, I apologize.
But it's spelled
I
man and
wanted,
wa. So what do you want from me?
yeah, well, the art really caught my attention, right? I saw it online
Mhm.
and I had a bunch of Audible credits that I hadn't spent. So instead of going and buying the manhwa, see, I keep slipping up.
It's okay.
I thought I would just spend my Audible credits and listen to the audiobook, right?
Makes sense.
Because there's a lot of them. Because it was novels first before it was a manhwa.
Oh, okay. The like where it's written out, right? Not as like pictures.
Right, it was actual
Okay.
like books, like regular books that were released, and like the covers are totally different. It's not with the art that we're
No,
used to
that makes
seeing.
sense.
Yeah, it's very like simplistic, you know?
Hmm.
And I liked it. I liked the story. I like the main character. I like the world he's created. I like the system. It's very interesting. I think that the voice actor they got to narrate it did a really really good job. So all those points A plus. What got me like caught up where I couldn't finish and I didn't want to purchase any more of them was because there are no descriptors. Like there's very little descriptions of things. It's very black and white. When people are described, they're very rarely is what they look like explained or their tone of how they say something is explained. It's all left to your imagination, right?
Uh-huh.
So like I'm trying to like come up with what the characters look like in my head, like just making up characters in my head as I'm listening because I don't know what these people look like, right? And then when my husband bought the manhwas because he's like, this looks amazing, I want to read this.
Hmm.
I flipped through it and I'm like, yeah, this is the art that originally like drew me in. I want to read it too, you know?
Right.
It felt like reading a completely new story, even though it was accurate. The translation was accurate, everything was accurate. I couldn't recognize anybody because
Oh, I
no one
see.
no one was explained. And I'm like, wait, that's what his friend looks like? I was picturing him as like with black hair and like a round face and like completely different. And I was getting frustrated because I felt like I was reading two completely different stories, which is maybe what they wanted. I don't know. But I did start to get a little frustrated, like trying to keep up with the audiobook and not being able to. I'm thinking, like, well, what does this person look like? What does the room look like? They're outside, but where outside?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
It's like the
nothing is
floating
explained.
head description. I
Yes.
guess you could say that's how in writing. But I know what you're saying, like the floating head description.
Yes, I think the only physical descriptor that was given was one of the characters. He said she had short hair. So I was picturing like a pixie cut, you know? I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay, short hair, a pixie cut. And then it's like, no, it's the girl with like the blonde bob, right? So I got too frustrated. So now I'm just started watching the anime and my husband has all the manhwas and he's been reading them and I've been watching it with him. So
What do you think of it so far then, compared to listening to the audio? What do you think of it, like, I guess, watching it?
I really like it because it's showing me what everything's supposed to look like.
Hmm.
I like being able to have a better, you know, and I'm a really like detailed, descriptive person. Imagining things in my mind is not difficult for me. But I was struggling because there was nothing, right? So I found it fascinating. It's like, oh, the story I've been listening to, okay, that's what that person looks like. That's what this magic spell looks like. That's what this monster looks like. That's what this dungeon looks like. It was really, really cool. It still is. I like it. I like Jinwoo. I related a lot to him in the beginning before he transformed, you know, before the leveling up.
Yes.
Like being super weak and sickly and a lot being on your shoulders. That's unfair. I like it. I know a lot of people don't like it. I know a lot of people think it too simplistic, too boring, but
Oh, I've only heard good things about it so far, so I was feeling kind of. I'll get into mine. You finish what you were saying, but I've heard
Okay.
good things about it. I guess what I'm saying that I haven't heard anything negative about it yet, but it sounds like you
Well,
have.
that's good though that you have. And I don't think many people are, to be honest, because it is, in my opinion, such a good anime. And it's really cool to see it come to life. And I think one of the main things that's made it stand out so much was the fact that art in the manhwa and the webcomic, I think it was a webcomic first, right? If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but novel, then webcomic, then published, and then anime is how I understand it. But the manhwa was such a big deal because that was most people's like, oh, this is what it looks like, and it was so good. The artist was so amazing. The guy who created the story, isn't the one who did the art. He teamed up with an artist
Mm-hmm.
and he did an amazing job. And then right before the anime came out, the artist passed away.
Oh,
So a lot of, yeah, it was very sad. A lot of people give him credit to really helping the author bring the story to life by giving it such detail. And I think that's why there's such scrutiny sometimes on the anime, is because a lot of fans are thinking you better do the artist justice, right? I really like it. I have some things where I'm like, I don't like this or that, but
well, what are
about the
your cons
story,
then? What are your cons? You gave us your pros. What are your cons?
I think it's that it's very linear. There's not a lot of character growth, ironically, because it's about him leveling up, right? But that is just how the story is. Like listening to the audiobooks and everything, that is just how it is. It's not really this guy, finds a therapist and grows as a person inwardly. You know what I mean? It's about survival, right? He's not changing that much emotionally except for gaining confidence, which is a good thing. But I think sometimes like a lot of complaints I've heard is, oh, the story is so predictable, right? Or it's just about him leveling up, that's it. And it's like, well, that's the title, solo leveling. That's the whole point of this genre is, this guy leveling up trying to get money to save his family. And it doesn't really go beyond that, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty badass. I don't know. I like it. So like the complaints are also things that I'm like, I feel like I get it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're very good at seeing both sides.
I try, but I want to hear what you have to say though.
What?
I want to hear what you think though.
Okay,
I've
so
been yapping, so
well, I'll start yapping. So I'm gonna give a lot of my cons, but I do want to say that the watching it is very cool. I like the art. I think the
hmm
story in itself is a really neat concept. So like it's like we watch it. Obviously, it's not like we don't like it. We watch it and we're not stopping. But there's
And
times
Alex Lee is amazing. I'm sorry, that was a pro I forgot to put in. Alex Lee is amazing in my opinion. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, I'm done now.
Yes,
Sorry.
give him his credit. I think he's a fantastic voice actor. I just don't. I think this character in general. I don't know how I feel about Jinwoo. His personality I feel like is so lacking, and every now and then they try to throw a personality in there, and that's where it feels kind of weird at times. For me, solo leveling gives very Lego movie vibes. I'm sorry. It gives
Lego movie.
it gives very Lego movie vibes where he's the most specialist of the special. And so sometimes it feels kind of weird because these people go into their portals and like these level S or A rank, they just can't do it. But luckily he's there with the group to protect the group. For me when I watch it sometimes it's like how did anyone ever survive ever if he's not in a portal with them? Sometimes I think maybe there'll be something that will pop up to make that make sense. But watching it as I am, it's like, how does anyone survive? Because obviously everything is just too hard for everybody without this guy. It's like it starts off, this is really hard. This level is way beyond me. And then he beats it. But no problem.
Mhm.
This is an S rank. Oh, this is a super S rank. It goes really hard, really quick to where there's no stakes, I guess it seems. I guess for me, the thing as a storyteller, I guess this is where I get kind of annoyed with it, is I feel like the world in itself doesn't have any rules that it follows. I get annoyed that no one else is allowed to level up. Everyone is kind of stuck at their rank no matter how hard they try. Real life isn't even like that. I think you go to the gym, you get stronger. You practice at something, you get better. But it's like if you're an E rank, you're a C rank, you're pretty much stuck at a C or E rank, no matter how hard you try. There's the very special cases where it can happen, but I don't like that you can't level up your rank. My husband and I were kind of talking, like with the storytelling, for instance, it feels like there's no real rules to this world. That, like I said, with the stakes, like if you take Attack on Titan, in that world, to be a Titan, you need to be an Eldian, you need to drink the spinal fluid, and then there's only 9 of those special Titans. That might be a spoiler, I'm sorry. But it becomes, but this fantasy world is believable. I get the rules. It's like, okay, obviously no one can become a big giant, but he set up rules to how things work here, and it's believable. So I guess for me, this world doesn't feel believable. I also, I know I'm just going crashing. We like it, but there's these things where my brain just can't get past it. He looks so little. He's a baby. And then he goes home as a big, giant grown man, as a big, sexy man.
No.
And his own sister's like, whoa, what happened to you? But if this man looked like this little scrawny kid and then came home as a big giant man, I would be terrified. No one questions it besides like, wow, how you look different today. It gives me the Changeling vibes where they give Angelina Jolie that other kid and she's like, this isn't my son. And they're like, no, it's your son. They want you to just believe this is the same person.
Oh, I
And
see.
I wish people would be like, this isn't him. There's something weird going on. His voice is different. He got a haircut out of nowhere and he's like 5 feet taller.
He got a haircut out of nowhere.
He came home with a haircut and somehow it made him 5 feet taller. And he gained like a 12 pack overnight.
If you're me, why do we sound so different? Why do we sound so different? Deal. I was no longer the naive Emmett I used to be. I got myself a new vest, a new head of hair, and a petulant attitude towards everything that's lame. Gave myself a makeover and became Rex! Radical and extreme!
Well, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think that comes from the anime. I don't think they had a lot of time. And even in the manhwa, like in the audiobook, at least, like one thing that I will say is while there's not a lot of physical descriptors for the world and the people around him, you're very in tune with what he's thinking and feeling because it's all from his perspective, right? That's how it's written first person like that. So you're hearing all of his thoughts and his frustrations and everything. And a lot more time has passed than what it shows in the anime. So like the time and when he's in the hospital, like that's a long time. And when he's in the portal, like at least the one that the game, right, is what it's called, the game, the system, whatever you want to call it, that pulls him into, he's in there for like a very, very long time. It's like the hyperbolic time chamber.
Oh, okay.
Kind of not quite that extreme, but like he's in there for a long time and he's struggling and he's thinking, I'm not going to make it, I'm going to die. And there's a lot of struggling and suffering and him thinking he's going to die. And then finally, he makes it through and gets the reward for it. And it's him learning the system, learning the game, right? Of all this stuff that's popping up in front of his head. He's thinking about it a lot more of like, what does this mean? Why is this happening to me?
I see.
The
That would be
daggers
really
he gets,
nice
like,
to watch too.
yeah, like there's a lot more of that, at least in the book, in the audiobook. Like I remember it being a lot more descriptive with his thoughts and his struggles of fighting. But when he does get to that level, it does seem to be where like it plateaus a bit. But that beginning struggle does last a lot longer in the books, at least. I think that's why I related to him because like chronic illness and everything. Like obviously he doesn't have a chronic illness, but he is very weak. And his mom is sick. He wants to put his sister through school. He's sacrificing himself and wants to be stronger, but he's just is how he's born, right? He's weak.
Right.
And he's fighting blood, sweat, and tears literally to get stronger. And that's not shown as much in the anime. I'm guessing for time's sake, But like the thing where he's fighting those bugs in the sand, that was long in the book of him just like I have to survive. It's like the sun's burning him, the sand is burning him, everything hurts. He's like heaving, like gagging, dry heaving, like the whole thing. So I do feel like he earns his leveling up. It's just not shown in the anime as much for some reason. I'm guessing just for you gotta fit it in so many episodes. But sorry, I didn't mean for that to be so long.
I really like that because it puts it into a different perspective that I wish the anime had, because that's, I think, where it makes the anime lack. Again, like with the no he doesn't have much of a personality. You don't see, here's what it goes. When you watch it without knowing his inner thoughts or hearing the audiobook, this guy is a lot stronger than me. It's going to be really tough. And then he beats it.
Mhm.
And then he's like 20 levels higher. And then it
Yeah.
just kind of repeats itself of this is going to be really hard. Beats it, no problem. Gains another 20 levels. So visually and watching it, like the action, it's really cool. I think like I said, I think the ideas are really cool, but it feels like, an adolescent teenager playing G.I. Joes to me at times with the way he talks
Oh,
and the dialogue.
see.
I'm just so cool. Wow. And I'm like 20 levels higher now. That's the vibe. Like that's why I said I get kind of Lego Movie vibes. The thing I really like about Lego Movie is it really genuinely feels like children and how they talk about things.
Yeah.
For me, he gives very Rex Danger Flex vibes. So, but it's supposed to be taken seriously, and that's what takes me out of Super SS double S rank. And it's
Mhm.
like I said, it goes so hard, so fast. There's no build up where you worry about him. It's almost like, is there even any leveling up? Because he's pretty much the super from the big, like this moment on. I never worry about his life, but the action scenes are very cool. His glowing eyes are very cool. And I mean,
Yeah, it is cool.
what we do think about is, and these aren't spoilers because we don't know what's going to happen, but our assumption is that he died at that pillar and he's basically possessed. And this is another possible spoiler. I think of Xenoblade, the first Xenoblade game with Shulk. And I wonder if that's what it's going to kind of be, is where he's basically dead and then the weird god thing is possessing him, is what we think. So we're kind of also hanging on to be like, well, what's going to happen? Is he really himself, or does he just think he's himself while kind of really just being possessed?
That makes sense. I know for me, I kind of see it as, I just personally, like, I haven't read to the end, so
Mhm.
I'm spitballing here. I do think he died. I think it's kind of obvious, right? He sacrificed himself and always put himself before everybody else because he knows what it's like to be last all the time. But
Right.
then at the last second, he's like, no, wait, what about me? I have a family too. I have hopes and dreams too. What about me? And so it like gives him a second chance, right, to be what he's always wanted to be. But he does go from that like really relatable desperation and despondency and survival to all of that is gone when he realizes how strong he is, right? All of that is gone and he just becomes very analytical. And in the books, like that's how it's written, like that's how the dialogue is. At least that's how it was translated, is very like cut and dry. Everybody's fawning over him, but he doesn't let it get to his head. He doesn't think to himself, I'm so cool, I'm so strong. All he's thinking about is, how can I level up? How can I get stronger? And I think it's because he's not weak anymore, but he doesn't ever want to feel that way again. But I don't think that's portrayed very well. It's kind of just like, look at this cool guy, you
Yeah,
know?
not necessarily that he doesn't think I'm so cool, but those are the vibes, if that makes sense. I don't think he thinks it,
Yes.
but it's one of those like, wow, that makes him so cool that he doesn't think he's cool. Does that make sense?
No,
Like that's just the vibe. He doesn't
I
even,
suppose, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
but it
I
sounds
think
like
he's cool, so
no, it's not that he's not. It's just it gives I don't know how to explain it properly. It just gives like young teenage boy vibes, if that's the best I can convey it. Of like a teenage boy wrote this thinking of himself, if that makes sense at all. That's why I was kind of thinking Rex Dangerflex. I think that's what his name is in Lego Movie 2. Because that was like the young teenage boy becoming a teenager that made that character while
yeah.
struggling with his like youngness. I'm not going to go into Lego Movie 2
Like,
but I'm just saying it gives that I'm so cool. I don't even think about it. That's how cool I am. He is cool. Of course, he's cool. He's got everything. But it's also, there's times where it's like he literally can do everything. You don't really
yeah,
see the leveling up. You don't see any struggle. He has it all already. He could do it all.
he can do it all. He's
He
got
can
it
do
all.
it all. He's so cool.
That's a
So
good point because like that is a really good point because one of the reasons, the main reason was I can't, I'm having a hard time picturing what I'm reading or listening to.
mhm,
Two is that it became very much just him analyzing the fights he was in, which was cool.
mhm,
But I was having a hard time like picturing the monster he was fighting and all of that. So I thought I'll just watch the anime, you know? But
right.
I do kind of miss his thoughts while he's fighting. Like it fills in a lot of the gaps, but there isn't much oh no, I'm not going to make it. It's kind of like, oh, I see this thing is resistant to this type of attack, so I have to use this one. It's very analytical, which I think is why my husband likes it so much, is because he's a very linear analytical thinker. So to him, when he was reading it, he's like, this all makes sense to me. Very like he doesn't like a bunch of unnecessary details. He likes things to be clear and succinct. And I guess it just depends on what you want in a fantasy anime. Like I can see both sides why someone would be frustrated with it and why someone would love it, you know?
Yeah, I can see why people like it too. Like I said, I think it's very cool. I think the fights are really neat to watch too. And I mean, this is obviously
Mhm.
a cool character. I just think when I watch certain things, I like order. Like even if fantasy, like the craziest things, I think even fantasies need rules to make sense. I think the world needs rules. But obviously a lot of people don't care about rules. That's me. I don't like how things can just happen because they say so, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But we are watching it and we are still enjoying it. We just have our critiques as we go and watch it.
Oh, that makes sense. It's kind of like you have to suspend belief a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
Set
not
this
really good
aside.
at that.
No, I understand like an author brain perspective is different. Well, I'm in like think of it from like an artist perspective and I'm like the everything is
Yeah.
looks so amazing.
Yeah, no, like it's visually it's really neat. I love when his eyes glow. There's just times where like we're kind of hoping will something deeper happen and then we're kind of like this is probably it. If that's what we kind of think like this is probably it. It's probably not going to get much deeper. He's going to keep doing his cool things, which
Yeah.
that's what people kind of come for are is the coolness.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's just him kind of not being a part of the world anymore and just trying to figure out the rules of the system. And I think it's a specific genre of storytelling, but I that my husband told me what it was and I don't remember. But I think it just depends on your expectations. If you're expecting it to be like a Lord of the Rings type world depth, it's not going to be there. But for what it is, it's pretty cool.
Yes. I think that's why I liked Attack on Titan so much, is because there were rules, even when it came to how they became the Titans. Like, he wrote that so well. I wasn't a big, huge fan of the ending, but everything up until then I thought was written really well. And I was so impressed because I'll put like a little spoiler thing because I will bring it up. Attack on Titan spoilers, how they become the Titans. I mean, I was blown away with how he came up with it because the whole time you're reading it, it's like, oh, well, Ymir met a demon and then somehow she was promised these weird powers kind of thing. But it was more scientific. And I just thought that was really neat. That it wasn't
Yeah.
like some crazy weird demon that popped up and gave her a promise. It was an accident. And again, I think like the scientific part behind it was really neat, that it could have happened to anybody if they were in that place at that time kind of thing. I loved all like the twists. Everything was like so planned out from the very beginning, and I think those things just wildly impress me. And I always want more of that. So unfortunately, it's like when I come across even neat animes. I mean, there's definitely animes where it's just you're there for a good time, and I take it. But I like a decently kind of deep story, I guess. Even if it's like a bit shallow, I like certain rules and storytelling. But maybe you could get that more if you listen to it, like you say, you're hearing his thoughts, which it makes it sound like it makes the story better because you understand him more. Versus here, he gives just too much cool guy vibes, but you don't hear his inner struggles. It kind of reminds me a bit of that book I told you, that Hunger Games book, where
Yeah.
the Song of the Snake or something like that, the one that was like a prequel before everything happened with President
Hmm.
Snow. And I said I really liked the book, but then you watch the movie, and the movie was terrible because what made the book was his inner thoughts. And then you watch it,
Right.
and it doesn't make much sense because you don't hear his thoughts working, and that's where the story really plays, are his thoughts.
Right.
So that kind of reminds me of this, where it's like, oh, it sounds like it'd probably be better if you could hear what he's thinking and hear his struggles.
It is. It's definitely adds more depth and more context and gives him more depth as a character. But the story itself is not super descriptive. As far as like how far I got, there wasn't a lot of like lore, like things
Mhm.
just were what they were. And I can honestly say I don't know that I've ever seen an anime with as much detail as Attack on Titan. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I can think of one like that. He was an absolute genius. And I
Yes.
think he set the bar so high that when, you watch an anime that is kind of like, this is what it is. It's not bad. It is good. But then people are like, but Attack on Titan, and it's like,
You
that's
can't really
completely
compare things to
understandable.
it.
But you can't compare it either. You
Right.
can't compare it because then nothing will measure up and you'll think everything is bad. But if you are someone who only enjoys, like singularly only enjoys things with a lot of depth, you probably won't like Solo Leveling because it is, as the title suggests, it is him on his own leveling up, and he doesn't really even like interacting with the people around him that much. He actually has more of an attitude in the books. He gets more irritated with people. He kind of sees everyone as obstacles to
Yes. He
getting
does give that
stronger.
vibe in the anime too, honestly, though.
A little bit, but even more so in the audiobooks where I'm like, this guy's kind of a jerk at some points. Like, you're kind of mean, but yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. And I think it's good. But if you're looking for like a lot of like lore and depth, it's not going to be there. So you might want to try something else.
I think that's a
And I'm
good
not talking to you
No, no,
specifically, Winnie.
no.
I'm talking about just people in general.
No, I think that's a perfect way to say this and end this. No, if that's what you're looking for in an anime, this isn't it. But if you're looking for something cool and
Hmm.
visually fun to watch with a overpowered character, which I think a lot of people do like, this is definitely it for you. If you want something cooler than How I Became a Slime, the time I was reincarnated as slime, because that's an overpowered character too. But obviously, cooler visuals, a cooler character. I recommend this one. I think it's fun for when it comes out. It is fun to watch. But if you are looking for a deep lore and that's it, then no. I rate this 3.5 stars. What's your rating?
Out of 5 or 10.
Out of five.
Oh, I was like, whoa, that's so low.
No, out of five.
Out of 5, I rated 4.5, 4.5, depending on like the episode, I guess. But yeah,
On the
I really
episode.
like it.
I like it too, but I also like rules and structure. That's how I am. And so for me, that's where
Hmm.
it fell flat was the rules and the world building. I feel like it was like the creator really liked this idea, and so they kind of built a
Hmm.
world around it without developing the world. And for me, that's where it goes flat.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. And the random haircut. He just showed up one day with shorter hair. What's up with that?
He died and came back with a haircut.
How I got reincarnated with shorter hair.
And the creepy smiley god, like you, he's like, I can't be in this body with this hair.
Help me. Can you make me hot? When you bring me back, make me hot.
They ran to
Oh, and one thing I will say that I don't like in all forms, book, manhwa, and anime, I hate his sister.
Really? Like you never see her though.
The time she does pop up, my blood pressure rises. I can't stand her. I think I don't like her.
Why? Like
I
I
will say
don't have
that.
any opinion of her because she pretty much does not exist.
She just, when she does pop up, she nags. And basically, like, I feel like I could rant on just how much I dislike her for 20 minutes. I don't like her. I just don't.
they ran to rain.